What's happening, YouTube? What's up? So, John Morant, do we think he's an outlaw, bad boy, thug, the next coming of Allen Iverson, or just a cat that's misunderstood? And how long are we going to go for what he's doing? And how lucky he is there's no longer a David Stern. Because Adam Silver is seen as a marshmallow, and that conehead turkey don't seem to really strike fear in much of anything. So, and I say this as someone who's been watching basketball for a long time. John Morant is very lucky that that David Stern isn't running around because he probably would not have been able to do some of the stuff he's been able to do. You know, it's very interesting when you see a guy who is a very talented, athletic player, and imagery, his style and his vibe. His team has had regular season success. They've gotten to the second round once. They're just not really motivated. And they can win games without him. Now, he did beat the Miami Heat. The Heat were on a win streak. He hit the game winning shot and he called a defender a pigeon on him. And he was doing his toting his gyration with his signal move, which has gotten him in trouble trying to replicate what he's doing. Um, is he headed towards Allen Iversonville, Latrell Sprewellville, Meta World Peace, the former Ron Artestville, Kermit Washingtonville? You gotta kind of wonder. I like Ja a lot. He's very athletic. He's in an odd position. He's an old and a young 25. He young because he's still very young, but he old because he's been in the league for a few years now. And it's like, did Memphis's window come and go? Did they peak? Did they ceiling come and go? Are they not going to be any better than what they are? Because you got to kind of wonder these things. Um, it's not a scene where I look at them as a team that's a threat. They won a lot of games, but they're not a threat in the big picture. So it's like, what's he doing? You know. And could I see them moving on from him? Now, if Adam Silver made a move on him, he'd say, "You gonna sit you down 50 games if you don't get yourself together," which he already did. Jaw's been through this before. And is it crying out for something? I don't know. Do I think it's overblown? Well, I think it's offensive when you do the too small thing, because I think any of them signs are offensive. First of all, trash talking is one thing, but when cats start using their hands and stuff, you know, when you start doing anything like that, you're taunting. Ja is going to be quick to get judged. You know, you want me to get street on you? I'll get street real quick. If you ever watched the movie Minister Society, you looking at Ja like old dog. Okay? You looking at him like old dog. And Lawrence Tate's character, old dog. And that's what he reminds some folks of. And he's scary. But that's the ones that the soccer moms like. Remember the ones that used to rock the Iversons? Throwback jersey? Well, they'll rock the Ja Morant. Ja's got followers. And he's one of those cats that if he comes correct, I'm going to tell you something. Memphis is an open auction block. I see all those cats up for sale. And he's included. And if he plays his cards right, I think New York, LA could be probably the Clippers. I don't think the Lakers. But I would say New York, LA, maybe Miami, Chicago. Teams like that would take a strong interest in him. I say definitely a moving in shape. Or team up with somebody who's a big name and make it roll as a buddy cop like a Lethal Weapon move. I really do. If he weathers the storm. But he very lucky in the era he's in, because if he had been playing when David Stern was around, he'd have been almost out the league right now. And people old school know what I'm talking about. There's no way in the world Ja Morant would have been taunting and acting a certain way. That man threw people off a lot less. And if he didn't see, he liked the fact that he sold jerseys, but he's like, look, I'm either gonna see to it that you go to New York or you go somewhere big. But if you keep fooling around, I'm gonna keep your behind in Toronto. And then when your time is up, you're gonna have to go overseas to play. I mean, they ran Stephon Marbury out, and ask yourself, is Ja Morant better than Stephon Marbury? Answer. Because if you're seen as problematic, he only gonna put you in so many places before eventually he run you up out of there. You know. So you wanna be a bad boy, you wanna be thugging it up, you wanna scare these folks, and let's look at it. Let's keep it 100. Memphis ain't. When I heard that coach that they beat Miami, he talking about, oh, well, he did something that so few people on earth can do. Yeah, you're a very talented basketball player, no doubt. But your team ain't no threat to nobody. Nobody is scared of Memphis. You are an open auction, which translates, we could take the best of your parts and move them around and make you keep you an expansion team. Or at the very worst, we take all your main guys and then we'll ship y'all behinds to Seattle, Las Vegas. Just saying. I don't know. Memphis could say they could deserve a team that's underachieving. Because you hit your peak 2022. And that's the last time that anybody was really seriously taking them as a threat. Since that time, Ja got in all kinds of off the court issues. And the guy could play. He got spring in him. He got upside jump shot. He play, but inconsistent. And this aloofness with that team and the fact that they're kind of nonchalant. They 45, almost 50 win team every year. And they're so nonchalant. They're so dry and dead and just so plain. They're like M&Ms with no nuts. They just don't really have anything that you bite into. And that's why I say they're an auction block team. There's a lot of teams like that. There's a lot of teams that are auction, and it's just one of those things that, that's what he's allowed himself to become. And it don't have to be that way, but he's a young, old 25. He's young in age, but he old enough to know, and he old enough to know that, hey, you keep doing these things, and that man ain't gonna let you stay in this league for so much longer. Especially when you're not a threat to win anything. You're not a threat. You're not a threat, and you're wasting away. Because you kind of know the elephant in the room is that Shaden come along and passed you by. And, it's like, what are you going to do? It's a guard dominant league, and you can hang with anybody, but you're not. Your team wins with or without you. You don't play no D. You don't play D. You don't really bring it. So you're hoping that this rebel, this madness, this type of facade will somehow turn the light on. But your lights are kind of dim. No one is looking at your team as much of anything. And that's a sad commentary because this guy should be one of the 4 or 5 best players going right now, and he's not. Because even when he's with his team or without, it's the same. And it's just, because if I look at a team like Houston, and I hate to say this, Dillon Brooks took Memphis's heart. They haven't really showed any kind of, that was the one that had a real punch. They've been pretty limp without Dillon Brooks. So we'll see what happens. But he keeps on playing these games. He'll be on the outside looking in. Because eventually, Adam Silver will get some hair on his head and do what David Stern would have done already. And if you grew up on David Stern, you know already that Ja Morant would not have had an inkling. He'd be like Jimmy Hoffa. He'd be so underground when he playing, you'd have to go seek him out. He wouldn't raise no or draw no attention. That's the problem. And he's not getting coaching, and it's just kind of running it, whatever. Please hit like, subscribe, welcome thoughts, comments, and I do respond. Thank you. Wash your hands. Keep your mind clear. Watch out for another. Share it if you like it. Hit the membership. Stay safe. Stay blessed. Stay woke. Stay free. I'm on peace.